Welcome back to my channel. I just recorded this whole video and deleted it, so here we go again. Welcome back to my channel. It's Halloween. Well, it's not Halloween today, but it's Halloween time, and this video is gonna go up maybe on Halloween. So I figured let's do some Halloween videos while we can. So Halloween night 1974, Ronald Clark O'Brien took both of his kids, 8-year-old Timothy and 5-year-old Elizabeth, trick-or-treating. It was like any other typical Halloween night. The kids wore it out, everybody was dressed up, exciting. Those were times where we were not isolating in our homes. And so Ronald went with his neighbor Jim Bates and Jim Bates' kids as well. And they were out with their kids. The kids ended up going to one of the houses and they were not answering. So they had knocked, they had tried to get candy, the lights were off. So the kids are like, you know what, let me get out of here. I don't have time to be waiting for this house to open the door. I need to go to the next house to get some candy. So the kids kind of just ran off and left everyone behind. So Jim actually ran to catch up with the kids and Ronald had stayed behind. So eventually Ronald catches up to Jim and the kids and he's like, hey y'all, like, the house opened, the people at the house opened and they ended up giving me these pixie sticks. And so he gave each of the kids a 21-inch long pixie stick and the kids were like, great. So it started to rain and then they were like, you know, we have enough candy, let's go home, let's kind of call it a night. And so they went home and that's when everything changed. Timothy had decided to eat some of his candy and so he ate the pixie stick. And once he ate it, he told his dad that it tasted very bitter. It didn't really taste as sweet as he thought. And so his dad's like, hey, just drink some Kool-Aid, it'll make the bitterness go away. And then shortly, Timothy started convulsing and throwing up and getting very sick. And so his parents started to panic and Ron ended up calling 911. And when he called, he said, like, I need help. My child has been poisoned, or my son has been poisoned. And that's sketch thing number one. Like, how does he know that his son was poisoned? Was he a doctor? I mean, he was an optician at Texas State Optical in Houston. But how would he know that his son was poisoned? Like, specifically poisoned, not like, oh, he just feels sick. Maybe he had a lot of candy. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the pixie stick was his first candy. But there was so many things that his first thought was to say, my son has been poisoned. So that's already, like, suspicious there. The ambulance came and they took Timothy to the hospital. Unfortunately, Timothy did not survive and he died that same night, October 31st, 1974, at the age of 8 years old. During the autopsy, they had found that Timothy had been poisoned with potassium cyanide and they had found the residue of the pixie stick. So they realized that whatever pixie stick he ate had been laced with potassium cyanide, and according to the pathologist, there was enough potassium cyanide to kill 2 grown adults. So that's a lot. And so the police then kind of put the alert and everybody starts panicking. If I was a parent, or, you know, even if you have brothers and sisters and cousins or whatever, or whoever's trick-or-treating, like, I would throw away all of the candy. I'd be like, listen, it doesn't matter if it's pixie stick, if it's Milky Way, whatever it is, it's all going into the trash. All of it. I'll go to CVS or whatever is around at the time and buy a bag of something and you can have that, but you're not having this candy. You know? Full panic. The police were then able to recover 4 other pixie sticks, and then the 5th pixie stick that they were able to recover had come from a boy who had actually tried to open it and eat it, but he wasn't able to take off, like, the staple that was at the top. And so luckily, because he couldn't open it, the kid didn't eat it. No other kids, thankfully, had any of the poison's pixie sticks. So unfortunately, Timothy was the only one that passed away to this pixie stick. But his sister had a pixie stick. She didn't consume it, but she was given one. His neighbors' kids had been given pixie sticks. And so people are really starting to panic, like, who would do this to kids, you know? So the police started investigating, and when they questioned Ron, he told them that he couldn't remember what house he had gotten the pixie sticks from, which, I mean, if it's supposedly you got it at the house that didn't answer, and it was towards the end of your night, you wouldn't remember that it's like, oh, it was that one house that didn't answer the door and then ended up answering the door afterwards and magically gave me these 5 pixie sticks. It doesn't make any sense. So he told him he didn't remember who it was, and then eventually he put the blame on somebody else, and he had told the police there was a man named Courtney Melvin who had given him the pixie sticks. And once police, you know, looked into it and started questioning Courtney, they realized that he had a solid alibi. His wife and kids were home, and he had been working Halloween night. And so when they checked, they were able to confirm that he was in fact at work, and so it couldn't have been him. He didn't give Ronald anything. And so his story kind of fell apart there. Another thing that was very suspicious was that Ronald called the life insurance company the very next day around 9 a.m. to see when he could cash out Timothy's life insurance policy. I mean, your son isn't even dead 24 hours. His body isn't even cold, okay? And I'm not a doctor. I don't know. Somebody's going to be like, well, technically your body can get cold in this. I don't know. I'm just saying. Like, his son hasn't even been passed away 24 hours. And the man is out here calling the life insurance company being like, yo, when can I get this money? Suspicious. On November 5th, 1974, the police end up arresting Ronald Clark O'Brien for the murder of his son, Timothy. And so when they're investigating Ronald, they find out a lot, that he's like kind of like a sketch, right? And so Ronald had a history of insurance scams, and he was in a lot of debt. He had about $100K worth of debt. And so they also found out that earlier that same year, he had taken large life insurance policies on both of his children. $10,000 on each of his children. Then later in the year, an additional $20,000 on his kids. And then a few days before Timothy's death, $10,000 additional dollars on both of his kids' life insurance policies. So with all of that, police were like, no, something doesn't seem right. So police ended up getting a search warrant. They had found some plastic remains of pixie sticks, and that's when they knew they had their guy. They had also found out that Ronald had taken a class at a community college, and he had asked his professor how much poison it would take to kill an animal. And so then the police were like, that's it. We have the plastic of the pixie sticks. He's in debt. He took out large life insurance policies on his children. He called at 9 a.m. when his son probably passed away not even 24 hours ago. And so they knew that they had their guy. Ronald O'Brien was arrested on November 5th, 1974 for the murder of his son, Timothy O'Brien. However, the trial did not begin until November 5th, 1975, and Ronald was charged with 1 count capital murder for the death of his son, Timothy, and 4 counts of attempted murder because he had given out those pixie sticks to other kids. Imagine if those kids, God forbid, would have eaten those pixie sticks. That would have been five deaths because of him. And so they charged him with the 4 attempted murders and the capital murder. There was also witnesses that claimed that Ronald had been asking on how to get potassium cyanide, how much it would take to kill a person, where he could get it, how fatal the cyanide was. And so, I mean, because of the trial and everything that happened, and I mean, at this point, like, when I was reading, I was like, he's guilty. Like, I already know. The moment I saw, like, he called the life insurance company and I'm like, he's guilty. That's it. So on June 3rd, 1975, it took the jury 45 minutes to find Ronald Clark O'Brien guilty of capital murder for his son Timothy O'Brien and 4 counts of attempted murder. 1 hour later, it was decided that Ronald would be sentenced to death by the electric chair. So Ronald had done this to claim the life insurance of on his children. His plan was to poison his children with the potassium cyanide, both of them, because he had taken a life insurance policy on both, but only Timothy had consumed the pixie stick. And he thought, like, somewhere in his mind, he was like, yo, you know, it'd be a great idea. Let me poison all these other kids. So then, like, they're not just looking at me, you know, like, we can blame somebody else, because if it's multiple kids, then it could have been anybody that laced these pixie sticks. That plan obviously didn't work, and thankfully it didn't work. And so once he's in jail, the fellow inmate gave him the nickname of Candyman because of the nature of his crimes. In the research I did, I read that Ronald didn't have any friends in jail, right? He was pretty much alone. The other inmates didn't like him. And I mean, who would like him? Like, this is a man who, like, what was he thinking? Like, you know what, I have so much debt, let me kill my kids. No, I mean, I have debt, a lot of us have debt, and it's never been like, let me kill my mom, let me kill my boyfriend, let me kill, you know, my kids to get this life insurance, but that's never, you know. And I think that's why a lot of us like true crime. That's one of the reasons I love true crime. It's like, why would this person do this? Or what got them to this point, you know? I mean, yes, I think he's a terrible person. Like, go ahead. He can die. Kill him. That's fine. So Ronald tried multiple times to get his case overturned, but every single time it was rejected. And thankfully so. Like, he needs to, you're where you need to be. You're in jail. You're the scum of the earth. You don't need to get out. On March 31st, 1984, at the age of 39, which is very young still, Ronald Clark O'Brien died by lethal injection. So at first he had been sentenced to death by electric chair, but they had determined that the electric chair was cruel and unusual punishment, and so then they changed it to lethal injection. And so that is the case of Ronald Clark O'Brien, the Candyman, the man who ruined Christmas, the man who is the scum of the earth, who's willing to end the life of his children to get some money. But I don't know right now with the current situation if people are going to be able to go trick-or-treating, if each state is different. In some places you will be able to trick-or-treat, in others you won't. But I know, like, reading things like this, I think we should all just be extra vigilant. This is not the first time that somebody has done something to candy for trick-or-treaters. I think I read somewhere that somebody had put, like, razor blades in the candy. Oh, just, you know, it doesn't hurt to be a little bit extra cautious and just check the candy and make sure that everybody's safe. So I hope you guys like this video. I hope you guys stay safe. If you like it, leave a comment down below. Give it a like. Give it a subscribe. Give it a true crime high five. Okay. Goodbye.